recently, a customer of mine introduced me to a new Chrome extension. I don't get all that excited about that because there just seems to be thousands of them out there, but they seemed almost abnormally excited about this. And then a second customer of mine had that same level of excitement and started talking about how they're using it. So TextBlaze, if you're unfamiliar with it, you need to just go ahead and visit their website. We'll have all the links in the description and everything else like that. But after I started to research it, I started to get excited about it. So I went ahead and I reached out to their co-founder and CEO, Dan, and he agreed to do an interview. Now, when we were agreeing and talking about what the topics and what we do on the interview, I had suggested, what if we actually get some of the users to join us in the interview? Because so often it's someone like myself interviewing the CEO or developer or anything else like that. I want to actually hear some real life scenarios. So he invited a power user that just started using it a couple months ago. And they've got a team, I think it's somewhere between 15 and 20 people on their team. And right now, probably 2/3 of the team has implemented this into their daily workflow. And they can't talk enough about it. So hearing her real life daily usage and applications and what are her 3 favorite features within TextBlaze and what are the kind of the underrated features that maybe people don't even realize it can do. This conversation ended up just being so much fun. I think you're going to find a tool that, quite frankly, it doesn't matter how many different tools you guys switch through within this industry, because we do. We see shiny pennies every single day and we move from this tool to that tool to that tool. This one you can actually use in almost any tool that you are using. And I absolutely love that it's something that can travel with you from industry to industry, from tool to tool. As long as you're in Chrome, this thing is going to become a powerful tool in your tool belt. Hope you guys enjoy this. And by the way, after we got off the call, Dan even said that they've got some new features coming out later in the year. And he says, maybe we can, this was so much fun and the energy was so great, maybe we can go ahead and do a second interview a little later in the year. So I'm really looking forward to a follow-up on this one. But I think you guys are absolutely going to love today's interview. All right. Well, I just wanted to welcome everybody. I know you already heard the intro and you heard me bragging on these guys and you know that I'm excited about this. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Now, Dan, you're kind of a big deal because you are going to be obviously our representative from TextBlaze. That's why we're not going to talk about you first. Okay, let's go ahead and let's give some attention and some love to Natalia. Who are you and why are you on this call? I'm super excited that you were willing to join us. And my understanding is you are a user of this product. And we wanted to hear not only from the manufacturer, but we also wanted to hear from someone that actually is just a fan of the product, such as I am and such as some of my customers, but someone outside of my sphere. So can you introduce yourself and why are you on this call?
Absolutely. So my name is Natalia and I am in the property management industry, residential property management in San Diego. We started using this product just because we have, so many canned responses and our team has been growing so much. And we used to be a small company and now we've been, picking up doors and just growing and getting more employees. And so the reason why I think I am on this call is because we've kind of leaned on TextBlaze to scale us. And so since we've been using TextBlaze, we've seen such a tremendous difference. We went from having our own 10 response or using a Word document or having our own Excel sheet of a bunch of different ones to having a single place where everything is. And our usage on it is every single day now. We're just leaning on it for everything in all fields, whether that's our leasing, are going to sell the property, a new onboarding for a client or a tenant. So it's been tremendous in our scalability.
Now, I think you and I could probably just talk for a half an hour to an hour and just go through so many different things. So Dan, we are going to certainly get to you and I can't wait to get some demos. But if you don't mind if I ask a couple questions, because I'm just kind of geeky about this stuff, is how many people are on your team?
So we're right now I would say about 15 or so. And then we just hired another person. We're pretty much hiring every 3 months to 4 months at this point.
Okay. So we've got about 15, 16 people on the team. How many people on the team are actually using TextBlaze? Is it 2 or 3 people that are on the team and they use it as a product, or is it now the whole team has found a use in it?
Yeah, so it started off with just a couple of us, and now I think we're at 9 out of our 15 are on it. And so we're slowly going into each department and kind of bringing them in. And so I think we only have like a couple more departments to kind of plop them in. So we're finding use for almost every single department at this point.
I love it because we work with a lot of teams, and some teams you've got, say, 3 or 4 different departments, and they're all living in different worlds and they're all using different tools.
Yeah.
So you're actually making this eventually, this is more of a company full team tool for you guys.
Right. Yeah. As we grow, it's so important because, you know, what we were finding before is one employee would start using one sort of language and then another person was using something else. And we want to make things streamlined because that's, you know, that's how you scale a company, is making sure everything's like on point the whole entire time. So this is kind of our way to make sure that everyone's on that same page at all times.
Okay. So Dan, I have to say, I've heard her say it at least 2, if not 3 times, the word scalability, scaling. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just share with you real quick exactly, because I'd really love to hear and see some of your demos. But if this brings value to you, why I saw immediate value in it. The fact is a lot of the teams that I work with, I'm in the real estate industry. So real estate industry, not only do we have high turnover, but even the people that aren't turning over in the sense that they're coming in and out of the industry, let's just be honest, is they can turn over, meaning that they're a solo agent and now they're on a team, or they're on a team and now they're on a different team. They're with one brokerage and they're with a different brokerage. It's not about them coming in and out of the industry. The fact is they float all over the place. And because they float all over the place, every place they go, they're either asked to, heavily suggested, or required to work with a new and different tool that they didn't have at the previous team. And what I saw this allowed them to build systems for themselves. This allowed them to build a system that they could take with them from place to place to place to place. And I found just incredible amount of power in that. If they had developed a system of how they like to communicate with people, they can build it within TextBlaze. And actually they still get to take that with them, even though, and use it in whatever tool that particular broker has said, you're going to use this tool. And so I saw this as not only, you know, what you had just mentioned, scalability. I also saw this as a mobile solution from moving from, in our industry, it's just a reality. You move from team to team, you become a solo agent, you go onto a team, then you become a solo agent again. We are the most schizophrenic group of people I've ever seen in my life, okay? And because of that, we need solutions. And I saw this as an incredible solution, and it was hard to ignore it, not only because of that capability, but then the people that introduced it to me, so now I had a number of customers that were using it, they wouldn't be quiet about it.
Yeah.
They are so excited about it. They love their TextBlaze, and you can pull whatever tool you want from them, but don't take my TextBlaze.
Right.
And I love that. And
so dependent on it now.
Absolutely. So does anything that I just said, Natalia, does that resonate with you as well?
It does. And it's so important because what I found is like we use so many different softwares. And if you go from one company to another, everyone uses so many different types of top softwares. And we're constantly, same as kind of what you mentioned, is kind of looking for more ways to be efficient. So you're constantly moving to different softwares or trying things out. So TextBlaze is nice because it's like, it's not just on your Gmail, or it's not just on, you know, this software. You can use it universally on everything. So we use it for it's not even just emails that we use it for. We use it as like miniature checklists and everything. It's like, I feel like the possibilities have been really endless.
I love it. And we're going to bring Dan into the conversation. But I do want to, Natalia, I just want to give you freedom, and I'm sure Dan will be okay with this too. If he's showing something that you are excited about, or you're also just starting to build this into your team, if you have questions, it's going to be questions that other people on obviously our listeners have too. I want you to interject, because I'm going to be doing the same thing. And Dan, I specifically asked you a couple questions that are, email up ahead. Where the heck did this tool even come from? What was the genesis of why did this tool even get built? And then I always have on any product, there's there's 2 questions I like to ask. And Natalia, if you have any answers as we go on this, I'd love to hear your perspective. What do you think, or what's your opinion as far as what are your 3 favorite features about it? And what do you think, because I always believe that every product has hidden features that people undervalue. What are the 3 features that you just think are undervalued in this, that if people knew the power of it and the efficiency of it, that they would be blown away? They may already be using it. but they hadn't
Right.
thought of doing it this way. So Dan, tell us a little bit about the story of TextBlaze, and then anything that you want to do, we're all yours. I'm excited that you joined us, though. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. This is very exciting. It was great hearing Natalia to speak about TextBlaze. Always fun hearing from a user. Um, so the genesis of TextBlaze, so TextBlaze was actually started by my co-founder, Scott. He lives in Dublin, Ireland.
Okay.
Although he was born and raised in the Bay Area, but lives there now. So it's a little late for him. He couldn't join us. But we both worked together at Google.
Oh,
I was a product manager. I managed product managers. He was an engineering manager.
okay.
And we were both creating enterprise software, so mostly for the sales and support teams at Google. And those are people that, much like a lot of other industries, communicate with a lot of users and customers. This is Google, so it's a lot of customers, but they communicate with many people in a repetitive way. And we kind of realized that there's a lot. We created tools for them that worked great, try to get them to be as efficient as possible. And it's a lot like the different tools that, as you said, people in real estate agency use. But at the end of the day, there's always room for them to kind of increase their own productivity, kind of automate some of the work that they're continuously doing. And a lot of it is about the communication with customers and users.
Absolutely.
And so that was kind of the genesis of TextBlaze. Scott left Google, started TextBlaze as kind of a side project. It grew organically. People heard about it word of mouth, just people sharing it with their colleagues, people talking about it on social media. And then, a few months ago, I've been advising Scott for a couple of years while still working at Google. And a few months ago, we decided, hey, clearly this is something that people love. People, want to use this. There's a lot more that we can do to help address people's need. And so I jumped ship, left Google, joined Scott full time. And we've been growing as a team and building TextBlaze together.
And I think that speaks volumes of both the product and the opportunity of the product is the fact that, give me a break, who leaves Google?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, give me a break here. Okay. So it speaks volumes of the fact that you believe in this. I mean, you'd have to unbelievably be so bought and sold onto this. And the funny thing is, for me, is I didn't know anything about it. And the people that introduced it to me, the couple of customers, it's just like, okay, settle down. It's a product. And they're just so excited about it. So I love that, hearing a little bit of your story. That takes real belief and it takes real excitement about the product. But I've heard that same thing. It's kind of fun to see a product with a customer base behind it that has that level of excitement and belief in it, because that's just not true with every product. So that speaks volumes of what you guys are doing, but I also loved hearing your story because that speaks volumes of what you think of it as well. I mean, that's not just your customer. So I love that. I love it.
Yeah, it was, leaving Google in general is not an easy decision, but, living in the Bay Area, had opportunities in the past to join startups. But this was a very easy decision for me because
I love it.
A lot of companies have an idea and then they build a product and then they try to understand, will someone use it?
Yeah.
Here, it clearly addresses a need. It clearly, this is something people want to use. And so it becomes, and then the sky is the limit in terms of, how you can help people do more of it.
Yeah. And so I want to let you kind of walk through what you think is logical. But when we get started, I will recommend to people that I hope you enjoyed this video. I think it's going to be great, everything else like that. But I'm going to also give you a compliment and make an encouragement to the people that are listening. You guys have really done a good job, in my opinion, on building out your website and making that actually a very useful product too. So what I would recommend to people is get as much as you can out of this video, but I'll just tell you right now, on your website, if you follow the links on there, there are some great things just about, and some great demo videos about the power of forms and how you guys use forms and what forms look like. Really well done. And most of your videos, they're only 2 to 3 minutes long. So everything on your site is not only informative, it's very digestible to the busy person. Then the other things that you guys have in there about autopilot and dynamic replacements, and I can go on and on about all your features. You do a great job at not only describing what their capabilities are, but then giving some very, very quick, manageable examples and run-throughs on the product. So I do want to let our customers know and let our audience know, seriously, not all websites are a great resource. I think you guys have done a great job. And where I found the most value is actually scrolling down to the bottom of your website. And you've got a nice little log right down there of some quick links to all of those different areas, such as forms and those things. So, so I'll let you kind of run us through however you want to run through, but it is a great resource.
Yeah, and I'll, you know, after our call today, after this meeting, I'll go through some, you know, short examples.
Sure.
I'll also put them in like a short post.
Okay.
And I'll share it with you, so people, you know, if people see something in the video that they like, they can easily refer to it.
And we'll link all of those things in the description down below, guys. So we'll make sure that you guys have access to that. So not a problem. Thank you so much, Dan.
Cool. So I thought I'll do a demo. I can go on forever. And I'll also, because I get excited when I do a demo, I speak quickly. So feel free to stop me, interrupt me. I know, you know, if it's too long, I know you can edit some of it out later. But I want to start with like just basic usage. A core principle about TextBlaze is the fact that it's extremely, extremely easy to start using, and you can start saving time in seconds. And then I'll build on that, talk a little bit about collaboration. Natalia talked about, you know, how you work as a team.
Yeah.
And then show some more advanced features. You mentioned a few, forms and things like that. And then, you know, feel free to interrupt me with questions.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to mention that you just said is if you can make sure that you also do relate it to both individuals and teams, because I know a lot of people who are going to watch this are going to be real estate teams or transaction coordinators that have, they're working in partnership with their team or a virtual assistant or anything else like that. So I love that that's a capability on this as well. So perfect.
Yep. Absolutely. And the computer that I use to demo is here. The screen is here, so you'll see me looking down. That's because I'm looking at the computer. Let me share my screen.
All right, we see it.
All right, so this is the TextBlaze dashboard. This is what you see when you first sign up for TextBlaze. And you know, to create a snippet, there are folders here on the left. Within one of them, I can create a new snippet. A snippet has 3 components: a name, that's just for your own use to understand what it's about.
Yep.
A keyboard shortcut, this is what you will type to insert the snippet anywhere on the web. And then the text, the snippet itself. This is a text editor, so you can write plain text, but you can also have links and format the text and lists and images and stuff like that. So I'll just type something very quickly.
And you mentioned something, you said anywhere on the web, basically this is going to be a Chrome plugin. So anywhere that they are, doesn't matter if they're in their real estate software. If you are on Facebook, you are on anywhere, you can actually use this product, correct?
Correct. And so let me show you very quickly. So I wrote like, this snippet is ready to be used. If this is something that I type many times a day, I can now start saving time. So I'll go to my Google Doc, I'll write the keyboard shortcut, it gets inserted here. I can go to Gmail, write the keyboard shortcut, it gets inserted here. Anywhere on the web, it's a Chrome extension. In the future, it will be a desktop app as well. Stay tuned for that. But for now, it's a Chrome extension. Wherever there's a text box on the web in a Chrome browser, you can use the snippets.
Awesome.
So that is the very basic usage.
Yep.
A lot of people ask us, you know, I created a bunch of snippets. How do I remember the keyboard shortcuts? How do I find the snippets easily? So there are a few ways to do that. One, you can click on the TextBlaze Chrome extension icon.
Okay.
And there's also a keyboard shortcut to do that. And then here on the left, it will show you the most used snippet. So if this is a snippet used frequently, it will show up here and it will show you a quick preview of it. But if you can't find what you're looking for, you can also search. And it will search the content of the snippet, the name of the snippet, the folder, and then you can just insert it from here. You can either click on this little icon and insert it, or it will give you the keyboard shortcut so you can remember it. Another way to find your snippets, you can always right-click and go to the TextBlaze menu, and here you have your different folders, and within each one of them, the snippet name and the snippet shortcut. So that's another way to find your snippets easily. Okay. You can also, if you just typed something and like, oh man, I typed this over and over again. I wish I could create a snippet quickly out of it. You can just highlight that text, right-click, go to the TextBlaze menu, and mark make a snippet from selection. It will automatically create a snippet. Let me show you what it looks like. That you can save. And you can give it a name and a keyboard shortcut and select a folder for it.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you 1 second, because one thing that kind of blew me away when I first looked at the product, I love how easy all of this is, okay? And I would say that in real estate, I hear very commonly somewhere between 60 and 100 people would say email templates. We'll call them snippets, okay? And to try to remember 60 to 100 shortcuts is crazy town, okay? So when I look then, so that blew me away, just that someone would have to remember 60 to 100. So how do they organize that? So you can organize them via folders and you can search, and all those things are very quick. Then I actually went to your site and I saw the cost of this. There's a free version, but the other two versions are ridiculously inexpensive. It's like $2.99 and $6.99. It's crazy. Yeah. And with that, what was it, $2.99? It's like 1,500 or 5,000 snippets or something like that.
Yeah. There's quite a few, and they can be longer. You can collaborate more. So
what you get for your value for dollar is unbelievable. But you guys have a nice organization system as well, which is very important to make it even useful. So
I'll go through some of the collaboration and how teams can use TextBlaze. Let's actually jump to it very quickly. So assume that I created an amazing snippet, and I want to be the hero of my team and share it with them. There are two
That's what
ways.
Natalia does. That's why she's everybody's hero.
So if it's just one snippet, and I have a friend or a colleague, and I'm like, that person can benefit from it, I want to send them a copy of the snippet that I just created. There's this button here at the bottom, and if I click on it, I can give it a description. And I can, insert the email of the person that I want to send it to, but I can also just publish it, copy the link that will show up in a second, and then send it to anyone. Okay. So that's one way to share a snippet. It shares a specific snippet. So here's the link, and I can just copy it. Okay. And the main thing about this thing, it sends the other person a copy of the snippet. So they have their own copy. If they want to make changes to it, it only gets reflected on their copy of the snippet. Okay. So that's one way to share a snippet. This is kind of sending someone a snippet as a present. Hey, this will help you. As a team, though, you might want to collaborate on a set of snippets. Yeah. And to do that, in the folder itself, there's a sharing tab. Okay. And when I share a folder, I select people by name. I'll use my email. And I can give myself a role. If I'm just a viewer, it means that I see all the snippets in the folder, and I can use them. I can use the shortcuts, and they get inserted anywhere, but I can't make changes to them. If I'm an editor, that means that I can also make changes to those snippets. Okay. And when you're sharing a folder, it becomes a shared folder and shared snippets. If someone makes a change to the snippet, it gets reflected to everyone, like a Google Doc or shared document. And we have a bunch of features that help that collaboration. Again, similar to a Google Doc, there's a change history here, so I can see who made changes to the snippet and when. And we can also chat about a snippet. So I can copy individuals or teams. I'll get to the notion of a team and then write something, even add an emoji and then post it, and then that person will be notified, and there's a comment thread that starts. So, you know, that kind of becomes a collaboration space where people can define and edit their shared snippets. And that is being used extensively by teams as kind of, as Natalia said, a way to align everyone on how do we communicate with customers. This is how we want to communicate with our customers and partners. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask Natalia a question, is just on some of these basic features, how quick did it take you to start actually being able to use it and find real value in it? I mean, some teams just have a hard time adopting a new tool. Now, you guys seem to have adopted it pretty quick. Up to the point that he's showing so far, was this an immediate day one type thing? Was this a couple of weeks for you to kind of get it under and it actually became a tool that you were using on a regular basis? What was that like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So how I implemented it was I set some trainings with the team of how to use them, the basic features of them. And then I had them send me all their canned response that they're using so we can start putting them in. And then from there, actually went in and it was almost like I had to force everyone to like use that as their avenue because they're so used to doing it one way. Yep. So what I would do is I'd slowly like restrict, you know, their Google Doc that they were using or something like that. And so then once they started getting into that pattern of using this, it was like, that's all they do now. So it probably took only about maybe 2 weeks to really dive in, but it was almost like you almost had to get them out of their rhythm a little bit to start using a new software, which is a little difficult for some people. So it's almost like you almost had to handhold them there. But once they were in, now they can't stop talking about it. So it was a good jump off the what's called the deep end.
I want to drive one just a little farther. One more question is going to be, so maybe a 2-week turn time. When you said that you were asking for their templates and everything else like that, how many did you start with? I mean, did you start with just adding, you know, a dozen templates and they started using that, or did you really go nuts and you had 50, 60, 100? I mean, where did you start?
Oh, I went nuts. I first put in all, so I first was just me and one other team member. So I kind of, I partnered with another leader on our team and said, hey, let's make sure that we could use this first before we expect the team to do that. So we started using it for, it was probably about like 4 or 5 days that just me and this one other team member were using it. We immediately saw the value. So we're like, let's just dive in. And then from there, it was you know, I set a training meeting. I was just on it. So I first had just my 20 responses that I use often. But then right away, I just kind of dived in and said, everyone send me their responses. I probably got, at first was about like 50 to 75 responses. And a lot of them were like overlapping each other. So I kind of had to dive in, clean them up, making sure that they were streamlined to have the same information. So now there's like, I can't even count how many we have in there. We have, probably, I'm not sure, probably definitely over 100, I would say, responses, but I went nuts. I just put everything in.
And I can't tell you how much value that what you just added to this conversation. Because Dan, I can get geeky and just talk about products from front to back. People want to, I love it. I'm absolutely love that type of stuff. But the fact is people want to get reality here. Okay. In real time, in real use, what is the actual transition from not using this to using this? What are those first couple of days like? What are those first couple of weeks like? What was a successful pattern to actually grow into this product? And that's where I think you bring a ton of value to this conversation. So I just want to thank you just for sharing those things, and I'll probably be picking on you later. But
yeah, no worries.
the phrase that's going to pop out is Natalia goes crazy.
I go nuts. Yeah, I go crazy.
Nuts. All right. Yeah. All right, fantastic. Dan, take us a little deeper in, if you will.
All right, so I want to go into more advanced snippets.
Okay.
But before that, let's talk a little bit about team features. So I talked about collaborating on specific snippets, but when team signs up for the business version,
Yep.
what happened is they create an organization.
Okay.
And let me go through what an organization means. So it has a name and some properties, but mostly it has a bunch of members. These are the people that are in your team that work on TextBlaze and collaborate on shared snippets. Individual users have specific roles. They can be administrators, editors, or just members. It's not very important. What's nice is that they can have properties. As a user, as a member of the team, I can have properties, and the organizational manager can define what those properties are. But they're, stuff like phone number and name and things like that. And the way this is used, I can go into a snippet and I can use those properties. So I can, for example, here insert the username and insert the user phone number.
Okay.
Now, when I insert this snippet, let me show you a preview. It will use my name and my phone number. But
Okay.
if Natalia uses this snippet, it will insert Natalia's name and Natalia's phone number, and you can add more properties. And that way you can create shared snippets that
Love it.
everyone can use, but they're still personalized to the specific person,
I
specific
love it.
member. Now, in an organization, I'll go through this very quickly. You can divide members into teams. They're just a grouping of members. And then you can also define default folders for teams. So as soon as you add a new member to that team, they'll get the folder. And Natalia kind of talked about the onboarding of new agents.
Yep.
If you have a new agent joining the team, you add them to one of the teams here. They immediately get all the folders, and you just tell them, hey, these are the snippets that we use to communicate with our customers, and they can kind of hit the ground running. Lastly, I'll just cover this quickly. This is something that a lot of our kind of enterprise users really love. This is usage analytics. And again, if you're a larger organization and you're a manager of a team, and you want to understand who uses snippets, who doesn't, what snippets are being used the most, and kind of guide people to the right way of communication.
Yeah.
You can do that here. You can understand which snippets are being used the most. You can look at individual team members and see how many snippets they're used and which snippets they're used the most, and so on. Mostly for new employees, if you care about guiding how they communicate with customers, it gives you some oversight and the ability to guide them to the right form of communications.
And Dan, I'll just state right now, I have a few people that I know are customers of mine. That right there would be why they're getting this.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
that little thing, there's going to be some people that could care less about that stuff. I have customers right now. That's what they want. They want that level of in-depth knowing what's good. When they're bringing people on and they want to onboard them, you can give them all the tools in the world. It's about application though. If they're not actually using it, how do they know that? What you've just done is just a beautiful thing. So I love that. Now, Natalia, do you guys use that feature? I mean, I can see some teams wouldn't use that feature, but I know a couple of my customers that would just geek out on that.
Yeah, I use that feature because that helps me just understand like what team member, what I guess department or what role uses it the most, because that's where I want to focus on, maybe they need more canned responses and getting them set up. So, and then the savings cost is it's really awesome to see like what you're saving. So yeah, we use that one all the time.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Well done, Dan. I like that.
All right, so let's now talk about how we can move from just plain text snippets into snippets that are a little more dynamic and can save you a little more time. So this is mostly driven by what we call commands. They're here at the bottom of the screen, and I'll show you a few. So sometimes you'll insert a snippet, but you still need to insert the recipient's name. You need to personalize it. So one thing that you can use is here in the forms, we have text fields.
Okay.
So this just creates a text field. I can give it a name. Let's call this one customer name. I can give it a default value. Let's not worry about it right now. But what happens is now when I use this snippet, it will open this menu, this form essentially, and ask me to insert a name. And then I can just select, I'll use my name and insert it. The snippet gets inserted as plain text. It's just that I personalized it on the fly. And because I gave this thing a name, I can then reuse it. So I can insert another text field here, also call it customer name. And now when I use this snippet, I only need to type the customer name once, and it will show up every time where I define it as the customer name, and then it gets inserted. So that's one way, we talk about forms and dynamic fields. That's one way to do that. There's also, I can insert date and time. So I can insert today's date, for example, and it will just, let me show you a preview. It will just show today's date. I can change the format, but I can also shift the time. I can say something, I'll call you in 2 days, and then insert the date 2 days from now. And so regardless of when I insert the snippet, it will always show the date 2 days of when I insert the snippet. So, if you want to send a follow-up notification or something like that, that's very useful. Okay, so I talked about one of the form types, which is just text field. But there are other form types. One thing that I can do is a drop down. So this is a drop down. And what it does is when I insert the snippet, it will give me a drop down of different options to use. So here, I use condo, house, or apartment. So let me show you what it looks like when I try it.
Natalia, get ready. I got questions for you coming up. There's for sure.
Yeah.
So if there are parts of the snippet that I need to select an option, or I want to use one piece of text, it doesn't need to be one word, it can be a sentence. And I want to, in real time, to select which one of the options I want to use now, I can create a drop down and then in real time select which one I want to insert.
Okay.
Did you have any questions about that?
I totally do for Natalia. Natalia. All right. So my question is this, because I love the whole forms feature, because a lot of us are used to a lot of our programs, they'll do merge fields and all that other kind of stuff. I find huge value in this, though, as an option. So I love the idea of being able to, it just gives me a space to type in, but it very clearly tells me that there's something missing there, versus I still get emails from people that it still shows that there was supposed to be my name there. And it's got the formula in there. It drives me nuts when people do that. But the second thing is the drop down is not one that I see very often. So I'm going to ask 2 questions. Number one is, of the forms, whether it's drop downs or fill-ins, which one do you personally, are you getting the most use of? And what have you noticed your team members getting the most use of? Because there's so many different roles that we're talking about here. Who's getting use out of what?
So they're the 2 most popular ones that they're probably use them just as much is the toggle and the drop down. So the drop down has been so beneficial for us because we actually use have started to do like mini checklists. We have like, our softwares that we use, like the huge processes that's completely separate, but like the small things that are like a 3-step, like, oh, how do I do that? And you just, pop it up and you could, we have drop downs of like checked. And so we've used it in very unique ways. The drop down has been awesome, but also in this example, this resonates with me because we do have drop downs for house, apartment, those sorts of things. So drop down is very important. And then the toggle feature has been awesome for us just because, as you know, in real estate, there's so many if, then, buts. So that the toggle has been really helpful into creating a canned response that's catered toward whatever the situation is. So toggle is probably the one I personally use more, whereas drop down is where my team uses more.
So you saying customized per, I love how you guys are using this for internal, but it's also how we're serving the people and how we're showing up to the people. Because a lot of people who think that they've got this all worked out, they're using an inferior product. And quite frankly, I get emails that it's nice and clean for about a half a sentence, and then it shows me what they missed to fill in, and
Yeah.
or how they didn't have their mail merge
Yes.
formulas set up properly, and it's just unprofessional. It's
And
ridiculous.
then it's not personal, and it doesn't feel good once
Every
you
time.
get that. Yeah. Whereas
Every
this,
time.
it's nice because it could be like at the end of the day, my team has been in the field out all day. They're
Yep.
exhausted, but they want to still be there for our clients. So
Yep.
this just allows them to give them that information without missing that beat. So by not sacrificing, their time with that client, so they're still giving them that information that they would, in the beginning of the day. So
I love
so
it.
helpful.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Dan, take us a little deeper.
Well, Natalia talked about toggles.
Yes.
Maybe I can give a quick example of what that means exactly so people understand. So toggle is, again, a way to decide whether or not to include a part of the snippet. And again, you go here and you do a toggle field, and you can give it a name. Let's just call it toggle. And then you can select whether it's on or off by default. So will this text show up by default or not? And then just the text itself.
Okay.
And what happens is that when I insert the snippet now, I can decide whether to include this piece of text or not. So it's on by default, but I can also remove it. And if it's turned off, then it will not show up in the snippet.
Okay.
But if it's on, it will show up in the snippet. And so, if there's a piece of the snippet that you want to decide in real time whether I want to include it or not, you can do that. One last thing that I want to cover in terms of, well, two last things that I want to cover in terms of going down the rabbit hole. So toggles are one way to make snippets dynamic and decide what to include in them. Another way is you can have formulas. And so, if you need to calculate cost on the fly or something like that, you can actually create a formula, and it's pretty easy to create. So again, you go here, you create a dynamic formula, and then it can be numbers, or you can use the names that I give the different fields. So let me show you what I've done here. I created 3 text fields, essentially. One is called rent. The other one is called application fee. And the last one is called security deposit. Yep. And then I'm just creating a dynamic formula that just sums those 3 things up. Okay. And when I use this thing, I can now insert numbers into each one of those fields. Yep. And then the number at the bottom will be automatically calculated. And you can use it to calculate tax and discounts and do fancy things. You can you can hide a discount behind a toggle. So decide in real time, do I want to provide a discount or not? And then apply, assuming that you decide to include a discount, apply to the overall cost. And it saves you some time calculating things. Make sure that you got the numbers right, and also make sure that you got all the items of the total cost included. Obviously, it's not limited to calculating cost, but it's one way. It's a way to calculate things on the fly.
And I'm just gonna right now, even if we went no farther, okay? Because I know what you said, that you could go fast through the things and you could talk forever about this stuff and you get excited. And to be real honest, we probably have maybe about 10 minutes left. And so I want to make sure that that you can pull out what you think is going to bring the most value in the next 10 minutes. But if we stopped right now, I just want to point that out. Just what this is capable of, just on based what you showed us right now. Give me a break. For $2.99 a month, $6.99 a month. That's ridiculous. That's amazing. And that's a tool that it doesn't matter, the fact, let's be real honest with ourselves. You might not move from place to place to place in this industry, like we gave the example when we started. But the fact is the owner of your existing team loves shiny pennies. And you may stay right where you're at, and they see a new CRM, they see a new transaction management system, they see a new tool, and that tool either has features that they want, or it costs less and it saves them half the money. You could stay right where you're at and your team still changes tools. Yeah. Literally, you don't even have to hop around this industry. and I still see value in this. This is just crazy. The
And,
value that this
you know,
thing can bring,
the
the money
time-
you're charging.
Yeah, so get it before we raise our prices.
Yeah. It's really the
Uh,
value of time. It saves so much time.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the time
So-
saving, like, I
Well,
showed
and accuracy.
Yes.
Time saving, accuracy, duplicatable, scalable. Anybody who's ever worked with me, there's 5 things I care about. It's going to be, is it scalable? Is it duplicatable? Is it freakishly predictable? Is it effective and efficient? Which one of these is that not?
Yep.
It's all 5 of those all day long. So I'm absolutely, you can tell I'm a fan.
I too.
So anyways, we got about 10 minutes left here.
I have
What would you like to share with us in 10?
one last surprise. All right, so this kind of addresses. I covered a few of the things that people are less aware of, but
Okay.
I want to call out one additional one. So TextBlaze can simulate any keyboard key. And so you can when you insert a snippet, you can simulate clicking tab or clicking return or clicking play, and that can be used to, for example, fill out forms. And so if people find themselves filling out online forms in a repetitive way, you can use TextBlaze to do that for you. So I'll give one specific example. And what I'll do here, and another thing that I want to call out, you can use the content of your clipboard. So the clipboard is when you do Control-C copy of some text or whatever, it goes into your clipboard. And then you can use the content of your clipboard in TextBlaze. So this is what I'm doing in this snippet. I'm going to copy these 3 lines. It's my name, not my real address. And the city and zip code are real. And then let's assume that I get this information from one system, and I need to fill out this form.
Okay.
Let me actually use this form. I can, and remember what, okay, I'll just type the keyboard shortcut, which is /form, and then it will automatically fill out all the fields. And it fills up one, clicks tab, click up the next, and so on. Another thing that I can do, I can actually go a step further. I'll simulate another tab, and then return, enter. Now what I will do, let me reload this thing. It'll actually submit the form as well, because it will fill these 3 fields, hit another tab, go to the submit, and click enter. So let me show you what it looks like.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
If you find yourself kind of going through a form where you need to go someplace, click, maybe select from a drop down, and that's pretty predictable, as you say, you can automate that work.
Okay, so let's give real use case scenario here, because I actually have a few specifically to use that feature with teams that I'm working with. So a couple teams that I'm working with, if you've got the admin department, okay, and say it's a transaction coordinator, that transaction coordinator to receive the file, that's fine. The agents can email their PDF, whatever contracts, whatever they want, but they have to use an online form to give them certain information about the file before the transaction coordinator will submit it. The fact is, and I'm just using my team as an example, we're with a team where as transaction coordinators, we had 62 agents. Well, I'm not doing a drop down with 62 names and they choose their names, and that's just a pain for them. They could actually use this for all of the answers that they answered the same every single time. They could use that snippet, fill out about 1/3 of their form in just a couple keystrokes. That would be done for them. Then they're only leaving blank the ones that is different every single time, such as the actual sales price or anything. This could make their filling out those forms so much quicker. And then the second case scenario was this: if it's a listing, they can't call us, they can't text us, they can't email us and say, hey, by the way, I'd like to have an open house on this property, and this property on Sunday. They go to the online form and they answer the same 4 questions every single time. Do you want it on Saturday? Do you want it on Sunday? Or do you want it on both? Do you want it at this time or that time? They could have standard answers for themselves. And the only thing that changes is what's the address. So they could leave tab past that one, leave that blank. This could fill out most of their forms for them and just leave the couple areas that are blank each and every time. That's a crazy, crazy use and crazy efficiencies.
Yeah.
Very cool feature.
And if you use snippets, let's say to send the email,
Yeah.
That means that the email will be structured in a predictable way. So all the information will show up in the same place. And then, the recipient of that email can just copy the content and use snippet to fill out the form. And then, this entire process becomes a lot more.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Okay, Natalia, I know I wanted to give him the last 10 minutes, but I do have to ask you, do you use that feature or not yet?
Not yet. That's a new feature for me, but I already know where I can place that. We do a lot of the utility setups, and it's the same thing every time. It's like you put in, our company name and everything. So that I will definitely be using that one.
Perfect. Perfect. Well done, Dan. You gave her one more tool.
Yeah.
I love that Natalia will geek out on all this stuff.
Oh my, I'm a process nerd. I love all that kind of stuff. Anywhere where I can make things more efficient, I will.
I love it. I love it. What else you got for us, Dan, here? We got about 5 minutes. What do you got?
I think I covered all of it.
All right, good.
I can go into more. Well,
I know.
No, yeah, I think I covered all of it. I can go into more sophisticated stuff. It can almost become a programming language where you do if statements and drop downs and stuff like that. There's, as you mentioned, there's a lot of documentation on our website. There are videos, and people should feel free to also just email me with questions. We have either me or other folks that can help out. We're always happy to hear from users and customers.
And I will say that I had mentioned when we started here, I'd love to hear, 2 to 3 of your favorite features from each one of you, and 2 to 3 that you just think are, quite frankly, they're just, they're underrated. And I think throughout this, we heard a bunch of those. But Natalia, was there anything that, if I asked that again, anything else that we've already said you want to point back out again, or something that was missed that you really want to kind of brag on?
So the one thing that we use a lot is, well, as you know, like in real estate, there's a lot of like internal policies in play when you're, doing marketing, or you're doing, you're sending an email to a client about something. So I actually use internal notes a lot, and I put it in red, and it's just so when that pop-up happens, it tells me either like a next step or a reminder. So that has helped me a lot. So internal notes and I put it in red. And so when the pop-up happens, I see it right away. So, yeah, he'll show you here, but it's been really helpful for me. I use the toggle drop down and internal notes all within like marketing advertisements, because, with marketing, you want your same like rhythm of marketing. But obviously every property is different. So that it just helps me, like, I press this, I do this one has an HOA, this one doesn't, like, I just go kind of down that list, and then I have my internal note too. So that's another feature I really like.
All right, Dan, go for it. Show it off.
Oh yeah. So the thing about the note, it will show up when this menu pops up. So it shows up here.
Yep.
But because it's a note, when I actually insert the text, it will not show up. So that's the nice thing about notes. It's a reminder. You can use them in various ways, but they're not part of the snippet that gets inserted.
Yeah, that is a absolute great value add for this video. I wouldn't have known that you could do that. That's perfect. That's absolutely. I can think of so many uses for that.
Yeah,
So
it
many
helps us limit mistakes for sure. It just gives people like the next step or the next move. So it's great.
Yeah, I love that. It's almost like you're able very simply but practically almost create like an operations manual in each snippet.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's right in front of everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Dan, what do you think? I mean, if you were, now granted, you're geeky about this, you love every aspect of this, okay? But what do you think that your average client probably underrates in this program? What are they not using that you think if they really started to adopt a little bit more, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I lived without this? What's underrated in this product?
Well, it's hard to say that because, Natalia makes it seem as if it's all very, everyone uses all of the advanced features.
Yeah.
But actually, I'll start answering your question by answering your other question. The
Okay.
thing I like the most about TextBlaze is how easy it is to start using and how quickly you can start saving time.
Okay.
Now to answer your real question, a lot of people kind of just like that and stop there.
Okay.
And they don't realize they can share the snippets that they created with their colleagues and friends and collaborate on them and make it more of a team tool. And a lot of them don't use the more advanced, the drop downs, the notes, everything that Natalia talked about.
Yeah.
And then lastly, it's limited to our company version, but the analytics, the ability to understand kind of how the team communicates with customers and use that as a tool to improve the communication quality. I think that's another thing that more people should be aware of.
All right. So to end this, I just want to say thank you. This is fun for me. I mean, the more geeky we get, the more fun I'm going to have with this. But the fact is Natalia, I was very grateful that Dan was willing to do this, but I was actually another level of gratitude when he said, because I told him I was going to have someone joining that's just a user. And he's like, oh, can I invite a user too? So I was so excited that he invited you. And quite frankly, I think just your real life scenario, showing us how you use it in real time, and the fact that you've been using it for such a short period of time and you're as excited and as advanced as you are. Did you notice what Dan said? You make it sound like everybody for everybody, and everybody gets that deep into the advanced features. But I think what you show off is there's no reason not to.
Right. That's a no-brainer to me. It just saves so much time. Like I mean, I love anything to make my team have like a lighter, day or a capacity level, because I want them to have capacity to be creative. So if I can do that by saving them any ounce of time, I will. And this process, it was so easy to like get on the rhythm for me because I just got so passionate about it. And short amount of time, but I would brag about it to anybody. I love it in any industry.
And then you got proud Papa sitting over there just smiling as she talks. It's great, isn't it, Dan? It's good to hear people loving on your product. I love it.
I invited Natalia because I met her. I knew she was enthusiastic about the product, and I knew she was great. But I didn't know how great she will be. Natalia, thank you very much.
Of course.
A true blessing. And we just want to thank everybody who does watch these things. Make sure that you go into the description. Make sure that you follow all the links. We'll make sure that you know how to get to TextBlaze. I'll probably have multiple links in there for TextBlaze, which is going to be their main website, and then a couple little example videos and stuff like that as well. We'll also put links for Dan. We're going to put it for your guys' Facebook page and a couple other social media links. You guys have done an amazing job. I wouldn't have asked if you were willing to do this if I wasn't excited about the product. And if I hadn't had, let's just be real honest, I didn't discover this product. I had customers that wouldn't be quiet about it. So I had to look into it. And that's a testimony to what you guys are doing. So I really want to thank you for your time, your expertise, and thanks to both of you. Anything else, Dan, on the way out?
No, thank you so much for doing this, David. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate the enthusiasm, and this was great.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.